opening. Pass 5, pass 10. Perko's a man, and he goes all the way to the 15-yard line. 17 yards out of 10.
Welcome back to the Believe in Badgers podcast on the Believe Podcast Network, presented by betonline.ag. Once again, I'm Matt Perkins, joined, as always, by Badger legend, the Hebrew Hammer himself, Matt Bernstein. Bernie, how are we doing today?
We are, man, every day on the podcast is a holiday. And I feel like I'm going to spend some money on this podcast. Like everything I'm looking at, I want. My wife is from Wisconsin. She probably wants. But yeah, man, super excited to chop this one up.
Yeah, man, we got Gabe Lloyd here today, former Badger tight end, current owner, Dairyland Vintage. And as much as we love football, bro, I think we're going to spend like 98% of this time talking about what you're doing now, because like, honestly, you guys out there are not following this dude's Instagram page at Dairyland Vintage and his personal page, like you are missing out on some like peak content on the internet. So Gabe, thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely. It is a pleasure. I mean, I've been chopping it up with you in the messages for a while now, and it was just a matter of time.
Yeah, it was absolutely just a matter of time, because it turns out that Gabe and I are cut from the exact same cloth. So we'll get into that and a lot more here in just a minute. But before we do, want to remind you guys that we are brought to you by betonline.ag, where they remain your number one source for all of your online sports wagering needs. You name it, they've got it over there at betonline.ag. So head on over to the website today or use your mobile device and use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, when you sign up for a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts. Gabe, we are going to start where we're going to start.
I got a question first. Dude, your Instagram is addicting for like me as a 40-year-old. This is, it just feels like what I wore and grew up with. We'll come back to it, but like, how does a young man like you get into this type of stuff?
It's funny you say that, because most of my followers, it's a mix. It's like not people my age. It's either people older than me saying, because I don't know if you noticed, but I don't really post things that I sell ever. It's like my type of stuff and like things I like probably 10 things a day on my story. And it's all just like, I don't want it to be stuff I'm selling. I want it to be stuff that people grew up seeing. So all I get is messages from guys that are 30, 40 plus years old, always saying, dude, you're posting stuff from my childhood. Like, thank you for basically keeping it alive, because
Yes.
a lot of people doing that, especially, I mean, there are people keeping it alive, but not my age and younger, for the younger kids to see. Like, right. I mean, the fact, like, there's kids, I'm the strength coach at my high school. There's a kid there that was born in 2007. That's insane.
It's insane.
I was playing a song, All the Above by Mano and T-Pain in the weight room. And I looked it up. Dude was 1 year old when that song came out. That's insane. So yeah, it was important to show those kids too, but I don't know how I got into it.
You bring me back, first off, you bring me back 1 week till St. Patty's Day. I think I might have told Matt Perkins this. I literally we went and asked for an Irish car bomb, which is probably not okay to say anymore. But it's not. Gabe, I don't know if you know what that is. Do you know what that is?
I have no idea.
See, I'm telling, and this, so he was a young guy. He must have been like 20, and he's like, I don't know what that is. And another waitress who was much older came over and was like, no, don't worry, I'll put it in. So I just think it's like hilarious, because it was Guinness, and you get like a glass of Guinness, you get a shot of Bailey's and Jameson, and you drop it in and chug it. So now it's called the car bomb, Matt Perkins.
Yeah, I mean, well, we don't call it that because of the Irish Civil War, well, you know, and the troubles and stuff like that, when people were using car bombs to kill their like brothers and stuff like that. So it's okay though. I just learned that this week that we're apparently not using that anymore. So I guess I'm just rolling with it, because that's the kind of guy.
So Gabe, it basically just brings that back to me.
Yeah, but it brings it back to me too. So I want to
sure, totally.
Dude, first of all, anyone our age, Bernie, grew up playing like NBA Street, NFL Street video. Dude, first of all, Gabe, when I saw NFL Street Volume 2 on your stories recently, I literally went back like the happiest memories that I've like found in a very long time. It's not just clothes, it's also video games and stuff. So like, how did you get into like all of this sort of area at once?
Honestly, so the clothes in general and hats is what got me into everything. And we can get more into that later. But that, like, I always went to thrift stores with my mom because they would have so many champion basketball jerseys. I probably thrifted probably 30 total. Dude, 6 champion jerseys. All of them were vintage. They were $3. I got them all the time when I was a kid growing up. It was beast. But so I always went with her, but I really didn't start collecting until 6th grade. My dad played for the Oilers, so I found one of his Oilers hats. That's where like the clothing collecting started. But like everything else, music wise, video games, all that stuff. I mean, I grew up, my first system was an original Xbox, NFL Street, NBA Street, NBA Ballers, blah, 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 can go on and on. And really it's just like, if I enjoy playing it that much, why would I stop playing it? So same goes for music. I mean, obviously taste has evolved and everything, but it's like I grew up, I mean, the songs I was listening to 3rd grade, 4th grade, parents probably didn't know about. They wouldn't approve, but it helped culture me, I guess. But I mean, it's just growing up listening to that stuff. I feel like it's important to not forget, you know, because if I wouldn't have played those video games or been that into sports growing up or into music growing up, I would be a completely different person today. So I don't know. And it's just one of those things where it brings me back to when I was a kid and I didn't have a care in the world and I was the happiest I ever was. So honestly, this room, everything in here, like my video games, everything, the music, all that vintage ads, it's just, I like to make myself happy. Why would you not? So that's pretty much what it is. That's why I keep it around. That's why
I love that. I love that you said your first system was an original Xbox. I love how that kind of dates
old,
you.
Burn. You forget that we're old, and we came
Sega
up with the
Genesis.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
I mean, mine was a Game Gear. I don't know if you guys, not Game Boy, but Game Gear. Do you remember that, Burn? It was made by Sega. It was like handheld, and it was color, and that's why it was better than the original Game Boy. And so it had the controls on left and right. I played the original NBA Jam on that Game Gear from like 1992, 1993 for more hours than I think is like humanly possible.
You can't beat Tetris.
I think you can, personally.
I don't know.
Sonic the Hedgehog also on the original Game Gear.
Sega tried. They tried. They couldn't do it.
Absolutely.
Okay, listen, let's
go back then, though. Let's talk about Gabe the person back in 3rd grade and 4th grade. You're listening to all this hip hop. Have you already started playing football at this point? You're living in Green Bay. Like, what's little Gabe like?
Little Gabe. So yeah, I started tackle football 2nd grade. Played flag football probably when I was like 4 years old, 5 years old. But like, and then so started football 2nd grade, basketball. I was a really big soccer guy too. So soccer and basketball was like 4th grade till high school. The thing I think the really interesting thing is the way it. Oh God, this podcast could be 4 hours, just so you know, if you wanted it to be. There's so much in this noggin right now, but one of the most unique things was like the relationship between hip hop and specifically the NBA back in the day. So I mean, when I was watching NBA games or things on YouTube or anything, it was just a constant like combination of hip hop culture and NBA culture. And I think that's one of the biggest things. And I think music wise stems from the video games, because the video game soundtracks used to be so hard and now they're just garbage. I'm like Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition remix. That soundtrack's insane. NBA 2K5. I mean, that I think without the video games, my music taste wouldn't have been what it was. I wouldn't have been listening to what I was, because I wouldn't even have known it existed. Because I mean, finding music back then, it wasn't easy. So that's pretty much how everything evolved to what it was. I mean, I was a pretty cool little kid, I think.
It's an interesting perspective because, growing up in Green Bay, you probably don't have the radio stations that, maybe the East or West Coast have that play everything, literally from top to bottom. So you could always find alternative rock. Now I don't know the names. Heavy metal. You could now, like this Matt Perkins, the stuff we listen to is on alternative rock.
Our stuff, no, it's on classic rock.
It's on classic rock. Like, but even classical or more classic you can find. So that's an interesting take. I never really thought of that it really probably didn't reach all of America, like the R&B, the hip hop, the rap. That's really cool. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much all I remember radio stations wise growing up was pretty much country, gospel, and then the pop that everyone hears.
Yep. Top 40 radio. Yep. So,
okay. Wait, hold on, Matt. They played Howard Stern on free radio in the mornings.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And and Don Imus.
Yep.
Imus in the mornings. Imus in the morning. Oh God, that guy. Don't
the only reason I know Howard Stern is because Beetlejuice. You know Beetlejuice?
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
The GOAT. Hey, funny story. I photoshopped a picture of me with Beetlejuice, posted it on my spam TikTok. Everyone thought it was real. No one thought it was. Everyone thought I met Beetlejuice. It's got like 200K. I took the video down, but I can send you the picture later if you want. It's kind of real.
I don't think he's alive anymore, is he?
There's been rumors like every 6 months that he dies. I'm pretty sure he's alive.
He was part of the Whack Pack and Howard Stern. Like Howard Stern was doing things that nowadays you cannot call and say people.
Yeah.
But that was free radio, dude. Think about that.
Great.
Like
over the air.
Nuts.
Over the air. Okay, so you are getting influenced by video games and NBA hip hop culture. You're growing up. You're in middle school. Were you get into high school, and when did you realize that like football could be a thing that you pursued at the next level? Because I know your dad played at North Dakota State, and so was that like a big influence on sort of the way you played the game, the way you approached it? So how does that all sort of transpire?
So to be quite honest, my 8th grade year, I quit football. I didn't play football. I didn't want to. I wasn't planning on, I was maybe 50-50, probably a little less of playing in high school. I don't know what it was. I think it's just because my entire life was literally football. Like I used to sleep with cleats on when I was like 4, which is insanity. So I think I just got like tired of it, I guess. But then getting into high school, I decided to. And my freshman year, I broke my shoulder, so I was out the whole year. And then sophomore year was good, junior year was good. But the funny thing is like all throughout high school, I wanted to play college basketball. I didn't want to play college football because my junior year, I wasn't fast enough to be a receiver. I wasn't big enough to be a tight end. The only position I was getting recruited for as a junior was a punter. So I'm serious. So as a punter and a kicker. So, and then
there's that soccer background.
Yeah, exactly. My longest is 54.
Hey, that ain't half bad. That ain't half.
I got a video. It was at Camp Randall. I have a video.
Price run long snapping too.
Yeah.
But so, and then I think going into my senior year, and it's funny because my dad really never like pushed me. And I think that's just because, I mean, you see it all the time with these dads pushing their kids, trying to get them to do what they did. And it was more like he wanted to make sure that I actually liked football as much as I did. So obviously, like the way he played football was really gritty. I mean, he was a fullback in the league. So I think I definitely took after that. But going into my senior year, I realized that I probably had a chance if I really like tried, because I played 8-man football. So it's like I didn't really have to try 85% of the games. So I decided that if I really like, I could get scholarships if I tried. So I started to try, and I was just like, yeah, why did I not start trying more sooner? But yeah, so then that summer going into the senior year is when it really clicked, where it's like, if I want to play college basketball, it's going to be maybe Division II, but I could definitely go D1 for football if I wanted to. So that's like when it really like flipped.
So who started coming around first then?
NDSU. So they offered me, I want to say July, August. Going into senior year, it was at 50%, which they're FCS. So they really offered maybe like 2 fulls each class. So that was a 50%. And then it was really slow after that. I got like a couple D2 schools. So then I committed at the end of August. And then really, since I play 8-man, I mean, it's not that the fact that I play 8-man in a larger city where there's 10 public schools, you don't get any coverage. So that was very difficult. And also our film was garbage, grainy as crap. But so it was just hard to get exposure. But once I had that NDSU offer, I knew that like people at least knew who I was. Mm-hmm. So then November rolled around, and I probably in just November got 10 FCS, FBS fulls. I never announced any of them because I don't do that stuff. Who cares? So, but there were FBS fulls, and that had the scholarship checks, positive attendance. NDSU was just 50% tuition. So that was a big thing. But it's funny because I ended up turning every single scholarship down and walking on at Wisconsin. But yeah, so that's kind of how the recruiting went. It was like really slow until the end of my senior year, and that's like when like everything just kind of exploded. And then yeah, I flipped to Wisconsin like 3 days before signing day, I think.
How does Wisconsin come in and convince you to walk on and not take money anywhere else and be a part of the Badgers?
Honestly, the thing about Wisconsin is, especially for in-state walk-ons, they don't have to do much because you grow up in Wisconsin. You watch Wisconsin your entire life. You're a Badger fan. Your entire family is. And especially if you're a walk-on, a preferred walk-on at Wisconsin, odds are, I mean, for the walk-ons in my class, I don't think any of the other walk-ons in my class had a D1 offer, like an FBS, FCS D1 offer. I know Grosh. I'm pretty sure Groshek's biggest offer was Winona State or something like that. And then NDSU offered him a preferred walk-on. So especially for most preferred walk-ons living in the state of Wisconsin, when they go on these visits, they're not going to other FBS schools. They're going to small schools. So when they see that at Wisconsin, I mean, how can you not? And also, preferred walk-ons, usually most of them, the people that accept the preferred walk-ons, they accept it because they know they're going to have to work for it more, and they accept that. So I think that's another thing, is that it also gives us something to work for. But I mean, Wisconsin's Wisconsin. When you get there and you go in Camp Randall and all that, you see all that. I mean, the coaching staff was unbelievable and all that stuff, and the program itself, but they didn't really have to do much convincing, honestly.
So you talk about getting there and being in Camp Randall, and you played there in high school too.
No.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Oh, wait, how did you hit a 54-yard field goal from Camp Randall? That was just you messing around?
Oh, Yeah, that was just one day after workouts.
You're ridiculous. You're ridiculous.
I thought you were referring to state for football because but we're 8-man, so we played at DC Everest High School for our state championship.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's all right.
It
weren't
happened.
even WIA official, so we can't even put it on our banners.
Wait, so I'm trying to think of how many other, I'm trying to think of the other 8-man football guys. Isaiah Loudermilk was famously an 8-man football guy from Kansas, right? And he was right around your age.
He was my roommate for like 4 years.
What is he like? I'm fascinated by Isaiah. He seems like an awesome guy, but I want to know more about him.
Isaiah is one of the. I love him to death. He's just he's a gentle giant. I mean, it's giant.
Yes, he is a giant.
What's crazy is actually like how dominant he can be on the field and how aggressive he can be on the field is actually quite surprising because every time I've ever been with Isaiah, it's no aggression. It's just the nicest, chillest, most relaxed human being ever. I don't think I've ever seen him angry. So it's like, yeah, he's very unique too. He's very fun to be around, but I love Isaiah.
Yeah, I mean, we had Beecher on a couple weeks ago, and he said he's the toughest dude he's ever had to block. So I thought that was I thought that was an interesting revelation. But so you get to campus. I assume you come in the summer, right? And then were PWOs allowed to take part in summer camp as freshmen? Did you have to wait until they came back from camp?
Yeah, so it's funny you say that because I actually saw some things on Twitter recently where preferred walk-ons weren't allowed to come until camp.
Mm-hmm.
At some, no, we got there right when everyone else got there. We actually got there a week or maybe 2 weeks before the rest of the team reported. So all freshmen are there for like a week or two before everyone else gets there. So yeah, we were there right when everyone else was.
And so what's your adaptation like? Like what's the hardest thing for you to adapt to, like right when you get on campus and then during fall camp?
Honestly, probably just living on your own.
But more like what part of that was toughest for you?
Good question. I don't know.
Because I know for me, it was just like not like consuming all the food that I had in my room, like at that exact second. Because like if I had food, it was gone. It was gone. And then I'm like, oh wait, I have to spend a lot more money to buy more food. This is not, I'm not.
I will say my redshirt year, not necessarily the summer, but my redshirt year in general. I mean, if you're not careful, you can lose yourself. I let myself, I was like 255. I had 23% body fat. I was a chunk. And I mean, it's tough. It's not even like it's like difficult or hard on you. It's just like, especially for me, my high school had 120 kids. So, I mean, going to a small private school your entire life and all that, to going to Madison where you have classes that are 350 kids. And that's bigger than my entire school. It's like, it's not even just that. It's like, it's just difficult to adjust for, I'd say, a good amount of people. And especially football wise, depending on how you train before you got to school, it can definitely be a lot more difficult.
I came into the Regent with Antosh Hawthorne, who is a D lineman, and literally ordered Chinese food every day. I showed up. I must have been the heaviest I've ever been in my entire life. Not during COVID, it got worse, but I think I must have weighed in at like 270 something, 276. They were like, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, you put me with this D lineman. All we do is eat Chinese food. Like, we're at the Regent. We don't know anything. Back in the day, you couldn't Google like places to go. You just literally walked outside, and we were on Regent Street, free it being like a nicer place. And I had no money. So I was like, Chinese food it is. And I completely understand what you're saying. Like, you can lose yourself very quickly.
Yeah. Was Wingstop there when you were there?
No.
Wingstop
sadly, that would have been 100 pounds heavier.
Wingstop didn't even exist as a company when we were in school.
What about Rocky Rococo? Was that on Regent?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we went there a lot.
A lot.
What about that pizza place that's right on Regent, like in the basement?
You're talking about like the Italian club?
Oh, I love the Italian Club.
That place is the best.
Dude,
Is the ceiling real low?
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
that place
Italian
is great.
Club.
It's like, yeah.
So I played rugby for UW, and we had our banquets at the Italian Club, like our end of season banquets, and those were the best, most. I can't talk about them on the podcast. But let's talk about that retro year a little bit more. Like, you're playing, especially you're playing Scout Team. Like, Scout Team is wild. What is your best Scout Team story? Because I love like, what's the most ridiculous thing that happened in a practice, or like what's just like the most memorable thing from that Scout Team time?
I mean, TJ yelled at me a few times, probably. TJ Watt told me I didn't block him good enough or something like that. I remember one day after practice, I had really long hair. And I remember one day after practice, and TJ is he's just a quiet. I didn't hear him talk much. But I mean, when he's with his friends on the team, the dude was really loud. So like Foom, Cheekway, Joe Ferg, those type of guys. I mean, that's when like his personality comes out. And so we were walking back in one day, and Foom was by us and everything. And then TJ, I don't know how, I think it was just completely random, but he literally just like, I remember he turned around and literally said, "You look like my mom." And it was just so out of context. And I was just like, damn, I should probably cut my hair, huh? But like in practice wise, I can't really think of anything. I just remember this one time TJ yelling at me because I was so soft and I didn't block him good enough. But
listen, these unique stories are like what makes this podcast great, and what makes like our experiences really funny and great is that literally someone just saying, "You look like my mom," got you to cut your hair. And it's like those little things that you remember probably forever.
Exactly.
Believe in Badgers is excited to be brought to you by Infinigods. Infinigods is a gaming studio with a suite of free, fun-to-play games centered around ancient mythologies and civilizations. Visit Infinigods.com to play their first game, Infinimerge, and learn about their upcoming tower defense game. Play for fun or play to compete and take your shot at winning digital collectibles. That's Infinigods at Infinigods.com, unleashing the power of blockchain games. So who's in the locker room? Like who's in your area? Who's in your group? Like and like what is the dynamic in the locker room at that point? Because like you come in like 2016, I think, right? Something like that. Yeah, 2016, and you're part of some really successful teams. Like you're part of some really, really successful teams. You guys make the Rose Bowl. You guys, you guys won a lot of games. What's the dynamic of the locker room like, and who are some of like who are the guys that you're spending time with, and like who are the leaders and what made them effective?
In terms of the 2016 season,
in just like in like your era, I guess 2016 through 2019.
Okay,
I know like they're all different seasons, but
So I'll start off from like the beginning. In the beginning, I mean, this is the thing is like surprisingly, I'm a pretty quiet person. I'm not like super like outgoing and stuff. So I didn't like really like when I first got there, I didn't really like have like a bunch of people. It was just like I was friends with everyone, but I wasn't really good friends with anyone, basically. But I'd say my redshirt freshman year was pretty just like my class. Me, Adam Crumbles, Vinny Volpentesta, Isaiah, Biadish, Groshek, Mikey, Jack Pop, Aaron Marinowski, those types of guys. I know I'm missing a few because we literally all lived in a house a few years later, and there was 21 of us in that house. So
Groshek told us about that house.
Yeah, we called it the Goat House. So, but yeah, so that's pretty much how it was. And I'd say like the older guys that like I actually like associate, like actually gave me the time of day because I sucked at football then. So I'd say the older guys was probably Foom, Cheekway. I love Cheekway. I mean, there's a bunch of them. Ryan Connolly, basically all the linebackers. Dakota Dixon.
A lot of people have talked about Dakota Dixon on this show.
Dakota is probably one of the best teammates I had. Because he like showed care to people that like you would like I was dog crap, scout team, tight end. Dakota's like one of the best players on the team. And like he cares about like how my day was. Like I always thought that was kind of cool. So Dakota, Eric Steffes. I love Eric Steffes. I don't know why I just randomly thought of him. Man, he was an old man. We called him Jerry, old man Jerry. But yeah, him, Austin Ramish. So basically,
wait, hold on. Why is he old man Jerry? Why is Eric Steffes old man Jerry? Like I need the genesis of this.
Honestly, I have no idea. I just remember Foom calling him that, and Xander. Oh, I love Xander. Xander's one of the older guys that I talked to the most for sure. But he was only a year above me, or 2 years. I don't know. But yeah, I have no idea why that's his nickname. I really have no idea.
So you talk about Steffes, you talk about Foom. So that tight end room when you get in there, especially like Austin Traylor in the tight end room when you get there.
He left the year before.
Left the year before, okay. But there were you got Foom, you got Steffes, you got Berg is a freshman with you too, or is he a year after?
So my redshirt year, Cotton Bowl year, it was Foom, Eric Steffes. I don't know if Xander was a tight end yet. I think he might have still been DM. Kyle Pennison, Mitchell Hurl, if you know who that is.
I know damn near every Badger name from the past 2 decades, and that is a name that I do not remember.
He was there for like a year and a half. He's from Middleton. Nice guy. Just nice guy. And then me, Luke Benchwall, and then Jake Hescock.
That's a group. So,
yeah. The tight end room was never not close the entire time I was there.
Mm-hmm. So take us through like your career. Like what was super exciting for you? Like what did you enjoy about Camp Randall, about the brotherhood, about being in the weight room? Just tell us, your experience.
So my redshirt year was terrible. Okay. But it was just a struggle for me, like academics wise, like the adjustment, and then like I let myself go. I wasn't like focused on football, so that was my fault. But the football then was good, and then my redshirt freshman year, I was still scout team. And then I don't know what it was, but one week I was just like, I'm on scout team kickoff, all these special teams. I was like, why would I run down on scout team kickoff and why would I not try to decapitate who's trying to block me? I was like, if we're playing Ohio State, they're going to try to decapitate them. So I was just like, why am I letting them like why am I giving them a good look? Like, why can't I just go and make a play? So I don't know what it was, but it was literally 1 week. It was a week before Maryland. I think it was week 6, 7 maybe. And I went down scout team kickoff. Arrington Farrar tried to block me. I ran him over. And then there was the next one, did the same thing. And then scout kick return, blocking. I mean, just something just clicked. So then, what do you know? Next day, I'm starting on scout kick return. So, and the spot I took was Leon Jacobs. And he was very happy about that because he wanted a break. He didn't want to be on kick return.
I don't know, man. Leon's a specimen.
He is a stud.
That's another. I mean, honestly, there's just so many guys I can say so many good things about, and I feel bad about like forgetting people because it's just like, I mean, honestly, everyone is just. But yeah, Leon's, first of all, insane. Like just I've never seen someone like look like that. Like why is he's insane. And he's a freak athlete. I mean, yeah, he's great. Anyways, so he was happy about that. And then so yeah, they played that next week for against Maryland. And then after that, I was on 3 special teams units: punt return, kick return, kickoff. Rest of the season, went to the Orange Bowl. I think that was our best year that I was there, talent wise.
Turnover chain, my bleeping ass. Like that was like that team was awesome. That team was so much fun to root for and watch.
Yeah, I definitely think that was the most talent we had when I was there. I don't remember. I think it was the Rose Bowl year, the year that we lost in the Big Ten championship game, and Jack Cohn had that scamper.
Yep.
That year, that I'd say that would probably be second. First of all, we should have won that game.
Mm-hmm. Well, I thought you should have won the championship in 2017 too, when JT was a freshman. That was the one I remember that because my wife was running a marathon in Memphis, and we were there, and we were like, she was like, we went to like a burger joint, like a bar, to watch the game after her and her friend ran the marathon, and they were both like passed out in the booth, and I am just like sitting there like screaming in Memphis. I'm like the only Wisconsin Badger fan there, freaking Memphis, Tennessee, and that game, and I am like losing my freaking mind while that game was going on. So talk about the goat house, because I like those are like that's the stories that I'm here for. I'm here for like what on earth happens when 21 football players live together, or 21-ish football player-ish people live together, because I know there's some girlfriends, there's some other friends involved, but I lived with 6 dudes, and I thought that was insane.
Yeah, so my redshirt freshman year, I lived with Isaiah, Luke, and Mikey. That was it. Next year, I don't know whose idea it was, but someone had the idea to get the goat house. And that house is really difficult to get. I don't know if people like realize that. Like there's like probably 10 different groups of 20 people trying to get that house every single year. So our last year we were there, we just had to give it up because we couldn't find enough guys to like live in it anymore, because some of them left early, some of them quit, some of them transferred, whatever it was. But so yeah, we moved there. I think the OG goat house was Sam Brodner. Sam Brodner had the only room on the first floor. Then it was Isaiah. I'm visualizing the rooms. It was Isaiah, Christian Volpentesta, Hegeman Teat. I don't know if you know who it is. Hegeman Teat, Luke Benchwall, Anthony Lottie, Griffin Grady, Noah Burks. Gosh, there's definitely people I'm going to forget. And then Mikey, me, Biotish, Groshek, Crumholes. There's more. But that's like the OG group. So Jack Dunn, I don't know why I missed Jack Dunn. So it's actually okay. So do you want to know how we kept the house kind of in order? Some guys, okay, so the second floor was the messy guys. Third floor was the cleaner guys. We didn't set it up that way, it just so happened to turn out that way, which God bless. But Carly Groshek lived with us. She made a chore board for us. We followed the chore board very well for the first year. We kind of just forgot about it after that. But so we kept it pretty clean. I mean, the best part about it is the entire first floor is basically the living room. Absolutely massive. We had a crap ton of just this massive like U-shaped leather couch, and literally every single night everyone was just down there just watching whatever was on TV. The basement, we had a bar, a poker table, an arcade basketball machine, a pool table, and a Guitar Hero setup. Yeah, it was wild.
That is living the dream. That is literally living like the 19-20-year-old dream.
I live in this house right now.
I mean, yeah.
It was unbelievable.
So what is it? What is a Saturday night in the off season like at the Goat House?
For me or for most of them?
Both.
Because I'm not very fun. So,
so for you, are you just back in the corner playing Guitar Hero by yourself, like
no,
solo drinking?
I was up in my room alone.
Oh, even.
So, but honestly, a typical weekend, like, not much is going on. Like, not a lot of people are coming. Not a lot of people are going. Everyone's just staying there together. If anything, it would be like, if some of the guys had girlfriends, they would come. Or like a lot of the people that came, especially our first 2 years there, were a lot of our older teammates. They would come there all the time. And then when we got older, it was all the younger guys coming. But Guitar Hero was definitely a hit. I don't know. I can't remember what night was poker night. I think it was Thursday nights. Oh, yeah. Noah Burks bought this was my junior, I think. Noah Burks bought a ESPN poker table for like cards and stuff. Had LED lights on it. I think it had it was wild. And we set up in the living room. People would come over for poker night all the time. I never did it just because I didn't know how to do it and I didn't want to learn it because I didn't want to screw myself. So, but that was a massive hit. So that was a big thing. I don't know what we didn't have that I really wish we did. I wish we had a Skills Pro mini hoop somewhere in the house. That would have been legendary. But
my wife has one in her childhood basement and it's still there.
Oh,
it's so good. It's so good. Yeah, it's the best. It's the best. She also has Papa Shot, which is a perfect thing
Papa Shot is the best.
Papa Shot is the best. Are you already at this point in time, Gabe? Are you?
Wow.
Oh yeah, wow, that's dope. At this point in time, are you collecting this stuff? Like that you're collecting now? Are you starting your collection at this point? Do you already have a collection at this point? Like,
in regards to random vintage stuff or what?
Like, do you have a vintage collection of hats by this point? Do you have what are you collecting when you're in college? What are you collecting at that point?
In college?
Yeah.
So I actually worked at St. Vincent de Paul Thrift at Wisconsin. So I got a few stuff from there, but it wasn't something I could focus on in school. So it was kind of just like whenever I found something, I found it. But I was never actively seeking out adding stuff or really doing anything with it, just because football was the main focus. So, but yeah, I have a massive collection.
So I want to transition to this because I'm very excited and thrilled and interested. You said at sixth grade you started grabbing some stuff. You said in college now you worked at a thrift store, you were finding some things. When does this really when does that jump into your full-time passion? Or was it always there, you just couldn't focus on it?
It was always there. Because in high school I would go all the time. My hat collection in high school is pretty wild. Only have one of the hats left. Don't know what happened to most of them. But I've worn the same size since 8th grade and everything. So I have shoes I thrifted in 8th grade that I literally still wear. Shirts, jackets. I have stuff I thrifted when I was in 2nd grade that fits me. I was a 2nd grader, but I saw stuff that were size 12 shoes, XL. I was like, Mom, can I get this? She's that's way too big on you. It'll fit me one day. I still have it. So high school was nonstop. Just always going to thrift stores whenever I could. And then in college, it was just it's not I lost a desire for it. It's more just I didn't care enough. I didn't have the time for it. And it's what is collecting this going to do? How is this going to benefit me other than I got really cool stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's it, right? But I wish I would have capitalized on it more then, because the market back then, a hat that I want for $250 now, that was $35. So, but then I'd say after the COVID season, when I entered the transfer portal, that's like I was back home, and I had all the time in the world. It was just work out, my 2 online classes, and then just thrift. And then, and then that's when I made my TikTok too. I think I started in like March. And I was just like, I'm not, because all the vintage people on TikTok really pissed me off because they didn't know what they were talking about. And because I've been doing this since I was a little boy, and no one was talking about vintage hats. And I was like, that's insane. How is nobody talking about vintage hats? So I was just like, I'll just start that. And then once I started that, that's kind of like when I was like, I got to make sure I keep thrifting as much as I can. And also it's like, I've sold on eBay since I was in like 7th grade, and not just clothes. Like I sell anything that I find at a thrift store that's worth money. And that's how I've made a lot of my money. I even did that through college. So, and then I'd say when I was at NDSU, that's like really when it kicked into full gear, because A, the thrift stores were on crack. B, I'm new there. I don't have a ton of friends there. I'm not like the type of person that like likes to hang out with people all the time regardless. Like I enjoy my alone time a lot. So I wasn't, and funny enough, I was actually living in the state of Minnesota, but it's right on the border. So I was like 15 minutes away from campus. So living by myself, blah, 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 all the time. That's when it really kicked into full gear. And especially when I broke my shoulder, because I broke my shoulder a week before the first game out for the season, that's when I went crazy. So glad I did too. So, but yeah, that's like the desire aspect of it.
What's the furthest you've ever traveled to get something? Like you saw something online where you'd be like, I have to have that. Like I'm going to drive to like somewhere in the UP to get this. I'm going to drive, like where are you going?
That's something for you. So well, I haven't really done that simply because that's typically like Facebook Marketplace type stuff. I hate Facebook Marketplace. I suck at it. I don't know what it is. I suck at it. Everybody finds everything before I do. Also, I hate the layout of it. It's just like, anyways. So I don't really have any stories like that, actually. I mean, I've traveled, 4 or 5 hours for a vintage event.
Yeah. So like what are some of these events that like what makes it worth Gabe Lloyd's time to drive 5 hours to go to an event? So
nowadays, even if I don't find anything nowadays, it's kind of like there's a lot of people there that know who I am now. There's a lot of sellers that I know, like connections I've made within the vintage community. It's like, even if I don't find anything there, I think it's still important for me to show up, especially because the ones that I do go to really that I do like that I went to Madison for. So that's 2.5 hours a couple of weeks ago. I know the people that run those events. So I feel like they give me free tickets to it. So why would I not? I might find something, I might not. If I don't, I see all these cool people. If I do, I got cool stuff. So yeah, I really only travel for events, but you said something about the UP. So this Saturday, I'm heading up to the UP, literally 3 hours away. Because a vintage seller I met, her mother used to be the buyer for the store that became Dick's Sporting Goods. So when companies would come in and say, hey, this is our cool stuff, do you want it for your store? She would buy it. And one came to them when they first started. She has a pair of the original promo sample shoes for Stephon Marbury in size 12.
So what?
I am going to go look at those My hopes is that she has a bunch of other stuff too. I'm sure she does if she has those. And I don't know if it's the actual like samples of the release or if it's like a prototype pair that they were sampling before they got to the final design. So I don't really know, but I'm hoping she has some other stuff, even like some old promos, ads, or magazines like East Bay. I need to find someone with like 100 East Bay catalogs. Those are so hard to find. And
I've got a few dozen in my closet in my parents' house in New Hampshire from like 2002.
I might want those.
We'll talk offline. Okay. So we have to wrap it up here soon because Bernie and I, well, we've all got to get back to work. You got to go buy stuff, and
we might need an episode 2 later on.
I'm happy to do that. I want to do my dream, because my dream would be to do an episode where the three of us like go to a vintage store and try to find like the best vintage Badger gear that we found that like somewhere at like a couple stores across Madison or something like that. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Quick
plug, 01 Vintage, Oshkosh, Wisconsin.
There we go.
You see my stories of me dunking on that mini hoop in that vintage, that's there.
That's I love it. I absolutely
do you just go around from like, do you just drive around thrift store just trying to find cool stuff? Is that that's awesome.
And Green Bay kind of sucks right now for thrifts, won't lie. Actually like really sucks. So yesterday I just went to Milwaukee to do a photo shoot for one of my buddies that has to shoot stuff for a brand, and the entire way I'm hitting if I'm going I love going places. I like someone says, hey, can you come here for this? I'll be like, yeah, because that means I get to thrift at every thrift store on the way.
Right. And are you still finding new thrift stores like throughout Wisconsin?
I'm sure I will. It just depends on where I go, really. So like anywhere on my route from here, from Green Bay to Madison, Green Bay to Milwaukee, or Green Bay to Minneapolis, I've hit every single one of those thrift stores. But there's still a ton that I haven't hit in the state. So I know the ones in La Crosse are pretty decent. So
that's so cool.
That's amazing. That's really cool. That's so fantastic. And we could go on forever about this.
My one rule is if you are driving and you see a thrift store, you have no choice but to go in. Just 2 minutes. You have no idea what you're going to find.
Very true.
Yeah.
My best finds, the best find I ever had, I almost didn't go in the store.
What is that best find that you've ever had?
Well, there's 2 that are tied.
Okay, let's go.
Actually, there's 3. So one of them was
about to be 2 dozen, but let's go.
No, it's not. These are the highest ones. One's a vintage store in Green Bay, but it's 40s to 60s women's vintage. Why did I decide to go in there? I don't know. I've never been there. I said, they might have something. I don't know. Go in there. Find a Milwaukee Brewers Sports Specialties corduroy script, dead stock, and a Los Angeles Lakers Sports Specialties script. Okay. I got both of those for $32. The Lakers script I sold for $250. The Brewers corduroy script I traded for a Milwaukee Bucks script, which is about $250. Wisconsin Badgers reverse splash, which is about $150. This you have absolutely no idea what words are coming out of my mouth right now.
You're talking about hats.
Yeah. So that one was $150. Then I got a Dallas Mavericks big logo hat. That was I sold that for $200. And then I got 2 Milwaukee Bucks jerseys, and I paid $32. Next one, I went to a Savers in Fargo. Was in there. They closed in like 5 minutes. I was like, I got to stop, and I'm driving by. Find a Alice in Chains t-shirt, $3.99. Sold it for $4.50 20 minutes later. Yeah. So the last one was at a dig and save. So it's like basically a bunch of Gaylords, and you dig through. And really, it's like if you're not, it's so Goodwill bins, they rotate. St. Vincent Paul dig and save, it's like they don't rotate, so you got to be there right when they open, first dibs kind of thing. I was 8 minutes late that day. I was like, do I even go in? Everybody's looked through everything. I was like, whatever, I'm already here. I go in, go to the first bin in the front. These things are kind of tall, but I'm tall, so I can reach to the bottom without going on my tiptoes. Other people can't even reach the bottom. I see a shirt, it's inside out. All right, I see the tag. I was like, all right, this is a good tag. Then I look through the neck hole and I see what looks to be an insane graphic. I actually have the shirt right here. And then
get it. Let's see what this is. Like I gotta know now. Like I'm in too deep now. I can't.
I'll show you in a second. So then I grabbed this one and I grabbed a Stone Cold Steve Austin Celebrity Deathmatch t-shirt and like 2 other ones. So I paid 67 cents for each of those. The Stone Cold Celebrity Deathmatch I sold for $4.50. And then this is the only one that I kept. Do you see it?
Wow.
That's incredible. Yeah. That's incredible. For our audio listeners, it's a Stone Cold Rattlesnake shirt where he has his arms up and rattlesnakes for hands.
Yeah. So
it's pretty epic.
So yeah, I'll stop in at the store. 2 minutes.
Well, I think the lesson that we're going to take away from today is make a detour. Don't stop to smell the roses. Stop to go to a thrift store on your journey, wherever you are. Wherever you are. Doesn't matter. Yeah. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Why not? Why not? Well, this has gone on for more than 2 minutes. We've unfortunately got to wrap it up here today because Bernie and I both.
This is great, man.
This is amazing, so Gabe. We're going to have you back.
You're a great dude.
And we're going to have to thrift it up with you sometime. So
absolutely.
We look forward to that. We look forward to seeing you guys next time on the Believe in Badgers podcast presented by betonline.ag. And until next time, on Wisconsin.
On Wisconsin.